these healthcare providers, they really do rape the crap out of people. And they're all consolidated under these huge conglomerations now. United Healthcare, for example, is the health insurance unit of United Health Group, an international health insurance company based out of Minnesota. The parent company was founded in 1997. United Healthcare provides employer and individual health insurance, Medicaid coverage, and programs to underserved Americans, according to the company's website. United Healthcare has served more than 52 million customers per a 2023 annual report, and the company has worked with 1.7 million physicians and care professionals, in addition to more than 7,000 hospitals. Now, here's one of the things about these huge healthcare groups. They drive the regulations that are being passed in federal government and in state governments as well, in some cases.
Uh-huh.
What this does is create regulations that family doctors, like we used to have when we were kids, you go to a family doctor and he's in there actually with a cigarette in his face, taking your, heart rate and all of that shit. That used to be a thing. That genuinely used to be a thing. You'd walk into a doctor's office, you'd be standing there with a cigarette. All of those family care doctors get crushed to death by regulations, just like in the food industry, where all the mom and pop farms are going under because they can't compete with big ag. The exact same thing is going on in the healthcare industry. So this is definitely causing stress for some people. There's no question that the behavior of these healthcare organizations is causing people to be pissed off, because if your insurance stops covering something, now you're stuck with like a $300,000 or $400,000 bill, like my brother-in-law, who is 78 years old, and he fell off the roof working on his house, took a serious head injury, and had to be in the hospital for weeks. Part of that in a chemically induced coma, and his insurance company about a week and a half ago went, "Hey, we're just not going to pay anymore."
Wow.
And now he and my sister, who bought a house in Coconut Grove, it's an exclusive neighborhood in Miami, in 1985. They bought it, and it was like a $45,000 house.
Yeah.
So they bought within their means. Well, over time, Coconut Grove became an exclusive Miami neighborhood. Now their house is worth millions, and they have to sell. And they've lived there their whole lives. Since the day they were married, they've lived in this home.
Uh-huh.
Now they have to sell it because of the insurance companies. They don't have there's no other way for them to pay these bills.
Yeah.
They lose everything.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And here's another thing. And this is a hypothetical situation. Typically, I don't do these because I lost the keys to hypothetical land when I walked across the stage for my Green Beret. But let's say you're a 47-year-old man and you've been diagnosed with cancer. When they found it, it was like stage 4. And you got a surgery and you started chemo. And you've done 4 or 5 rounds of chemo, and you're somewhere around stage 2, stage 1, and there's just a few more to go, and maybe you can take it into remission. You go in for your next, chemo, and all of a sudden they tell you, oh, your insurance company called and they're not going to cover it. That insurance company just signed your death warrant.
Yes.
Because by the time you go to court and get in front of a judge and the judge says, what the hell's going on here? Finishes chemo. More than likely, it's going to come back with a vengeance. And a lot of
these things too.
And a lot of times, that same chemo will not be effective the second time. Now, there's a lot of people out there who might feel a certain way about that. And those men are extremely dangerous because they have absolutely nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
And they're probably really pissed off, and they want to get at least a couple ounces of payback before they cash it in and go to the lobby.
Yep.
Now, multiply that.
True.
by millions of people.
No, that's absolutely right. One of the things that drives this too is a lot of the public records that are available for these insurance companies. And you're better at business and math than I am. This is something we know, but I understand the principles here. A company might be worth $610.5 million, but that's often tied up, and correct me if I'm wrong here, in assets, land, contracts, and other instruments. It's not, they don't just have $610 million in cash stacked in a room in the back.
No, they don't.
Can you sum that up better than I did?
Well, typically, if you have like a company that's worth, let's say, $500 million, you got inventory, and you've got inventory that's waiting to come in. And then you have a warehouse where your inventory is at. On top of that, you're going to have to, more than likely, there's going to be a certain amount of debt, and you're going to need to service that debt from the profits. Now, typically, whenever like you hear like a company's worth $600 million, that value that they're coming up with is based on the gross receipts that they get per year. And then you add in all of the other, land, buildings, and other tangible, real assets, and that doesn't even include like intellectual property rights or other various patents or rights and copyrights and what have you, because those can also lead to the value of companies. And there's been plenty of companies out there who were valued in the hundreds of millions, and all of a sudden their patent ran out, and within a year they're worth almost nothing. So it's very subjective scale. It slides easily. So that's pretty much
Something like that. This is obviously a separate rabbit hole of its own, but didn't something like that take down the .net boom or the .com boom?
Yeah. A lot of those companies were radically overvalued, and at the end of the day, there was no real assets. And when competition popped up, because setting up a website is easy, they just fell like dominoes.
Yeah, they thought it was arcane knowledge in the beginning, and then suddenly they realized that it was not.
No.
And I remember the evolution of a lot of that stuff. As far as these big health corps go, it is not quite what it seems. The money being made is, and while they make a lot of money pulling in their fees for insurance and all of that, the providers, the doctors that have figured out that they can feed off of the insurance companies and blow charges through the roof, they're the ones that are causing the most damage to the actual individual. Because at the end of the day, that's the bill you have to pay. You're not paying this health insurance company that $500,000. You're paying the hospital that is charging you $180 for an aspirin and $300 for a Band-Aid, which is obviously gross gouging. And it's completely, off the chain with some of the stuff that I see. It's crazy. Now, that being said, the reason that personal injury law exists, and everybody calls it ambulance chasers and makes fun of it, and it's pretty maligned as a practice area. But without them, there would be no buffer between these insurance companies and these doctors. And guess how much money you would get?
Yep.
Big goose eggs. You would never ever get your bills paid. You'd be stuck with those bills for the rest of your life, and they would just crush you. Those personal injury lawyers are literally the only thing saving your ass when it comes to those doctor bills, because they get the insurance companies, they force them to pay.
Well, my thing is this: I've been reading into United Health, their scam they have going on. Now, not only are they a healthcare insurance company, but they also have hospitals They've been purchasing doctors' practices, the billers. They have everything. So, I mean, if that isn't a monopoly, I don't know what to tell you.
You are absolutely correct. It is a monopoly.
Yeah, that is just bullshit. And now, listen, I've been hearing the left like, well, we need to have universal health care. All right, let's just be honest. Universal health care is not going to be any better. And maybe it'll be okay in the beginning, but it always falls apart. Towards
Well,
the end of the Soviet Union,
right.
there were people dying on 6-year waiting lists for procedures.
That's already happening in Canada right now.
Yeah,
Exactly that is happening in Canada right now. We're just sort of at the beginning of that slide.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the meat caser box.